Hello everyone. It's James again. Thank you for stopping by today and watching my video. For those of you that are new, thank you for giving this little cartoon man with a funny voice a bit of your time. And for my long-time subscribers, I appreciate you more than words can say. Today I want to talk about something very important. And it's the case of Susan Smith. We've talked about Susan Smith several times on this channel before. But she's back in the news, as she went before the parole board to see if she can possibly be let out of prison. And thankfully her request was denied. Now for those of you that don't know who Susan Smith is. In 1995 I believe, Susan was married with 2 children. But she was having an affair. At least one affair that we know about. And I will explain more about that in a moment. But she was having an affair with a very well-to-do man. It appears the man was breaking things off with Susan possibly because he said he didn't want to be with a woman that had children. And Susan Smith, being the opportunist, probably realized she wouldn't find another man with that much money again. So she ended the life of her children and then blamed it on a man that didn't even exist. She gave a description of a black man as the person that carjacked her and took off with her kids. But Susan and her husband went on talk show after media show, and on the news, begging for help to find her children. And in the middle of all of this, the police felt there was problems with her story and her actions. It seemed she was giddy and excited to be on camera. Whereas her husband was barely hanging on. This is when, after enough pressure was put on her, Susan admitted to putting her kids in the car and letting it drive off into a lake to where it sunk to the bottom, ending the lives of her children. Also, she could more than likely divorce her husband and ride off into the sunset with her rich boyfriend. Look, all of that right there should tell you that she is a narcissistic psychopath. Susan saw her children and her husband as inconveniences, as obstacles. Susan was doing what a lot of the younger women nowadays call chasing the bag. But if you look at Susan, you don't see a glammed up harlot. You see someone that looks like they would be trustworthy and kind. And that's the reason why the media's portrayal of what a narcissist is so dangerous. Yes, narcissists can be over-the-top loud brash characters, both male and female. But they are in just the same frequency, in my humble cartoon opinion. Can be and are simple, basic looking people. They could be a grandma or grandpa type. They could be a nice innocent looking woman. Or a harmless looking man. Or even a young child. A child that is just as dangerous as an adult but hides behind being a harmless child. And narcissists and psychopaths use all of this to their advantage. So they can not only hide in plain sight, but so they can actively set people up to take the blame for their evil actions. Susan likely blamed others for things she has done in the past. I wouldn't be shocked if she did such things in grade school, middle school and high school, and likely being successful in each situation. And as I've talked about before, what this does in such individuals is builds up a false sense of invincibility. They think in their mind that they will figure it out just like they were able to do in the past. But what happens when these types end others' lives? They are baffled, their lies aren't working like they used to work. But please believe, before crimes like this were able to be investigated in the way they do now, there were likely tons of evil people like this hundreds of years ago that literally got away with ending people's lives and blaming it on others, because there was no way to prove otherwise. This is a woman that had 2 children, a handsome hard-working husband that loved her and loved his children. But it still wasn't enough. And this is why there is a big concern in today's dating scene with the unrealistic expectations that some, not all, but some of the women in the world have. Yes, men and women can be narcissists in the same frequency. But what Susan Smith was doing in 1995, meaning chasing the bag, is what a lot of the ladies on social media are bragging about to this day. About how it's okay to leave a man like Susan's husband. Because he's not rich. And that guy over there can take her on a fancy trip. I did a video almost a year ago. Regarding this woman behind me. Yulia Storazik. She viciously put hands on her son. Is the most polite way to say what she did. She slammed him on the ground more than a WWE match. All because her child wanted to go to the park and play. I believe he was only 4 or 5 years old at the time. So why did she react so violently? Well, Yulia was, at least at the time of the incident happening, was, I believe, a high-end flight attendant. And she recently came to the US from Ukraine, fleeing the conflict over there. Now you would think she would be thankful to be away from the conflict, and she has a great job and lives in what appears to be a high-end apartment. But I wouldn't be shocked if what motivated Yulia to do what she did to her son was likely the same thing that motivated Susan Smith to end the lives of her children. You see, Yulia, I believe, is 29. But finds herself living in an area where there are rich millionaire playboys. Likely more narcissists. They are driving fancy cars and fancy boats. She gets to meet them while on her job. She might have even dated a few of them. But quickly she likely realized they were just using her for one thing. And they weren't willing to commit to her. And more than likely she was seething mad every single day of her life. That here she was in this rich party town. And there are a bunch of 20-something-year-old women running around with no kids. Taking the men that she thinks she should have. And even though she's now almost 30, she probably has thought many times over that life would be so much better if she didn't have a child. And she could party it up and snag herself a rich guy. Now there is no mention of the father of Yulia's child. So I can't say if the man is a decent person or not. But there have been a lot of reports by Ukrainian men that are in the middle of the conflict, that basically their wives or girlfriends, some that have children, not only left the country but left them as well. Also they can party in the US, Poland, and Germany, and find other men that have more money. All the while the father of their children is trying to survive the front lines in Ukraine. Now, not all women, I'm sure, did this. But look around the web and here on this platform. You will find video after video of women like this, that picked up and left as if the father meant nothing to them. And I think that Yulia was just hoping to get her hooks into some rich guy. But her son was getting in the way. But I'm just guessing here. Oh. And by the way, Yulia only got 3 years probation. I'm not sure if her child is back with her or not. I wouldn't be shocked if he were. I pray for his safety. But I believe it's the same evil. Evil to the core Jezebel spirit that operates in both of them. Well, since Susan has been in prison for nearly 30 years, she's had numerous infractions. She ended up hooking up with male guards, doing illegal substances, and all kinds of other things. If her plan was to indeed get out, wouldn't she fly straight the entire time? But this is the thing that a lot of people just don't get regarding these people. Their nature is the same nature as Satan. Satan roams to and fro looking for who he may devour, or ruin or destroy. People like Susan Smith think non-stop about manipulating others. They just can't help themselves. Manipulating others is what puts their right foot in front of their left. It's like drinking and breathing to them. They cannot live without it. Susan has had numerous pen pal boyfriends and using them for money in prison and playing them like fools. She likes the excitement she feels when she knows her lies are being believed and she knows her lies are working. I believe it's depressing for people like her being locked up surrounded by authorities that don't believe a word she says. So she spends her time with those she can manipulate and with those that will believe her. And with those that will buy her crocodile tears. And I will leave a link in the box below. Susan Smith was up for parole the other day. She blew off her illegal substance use while in prison as a dumb mistake. And at times minimized her actions. And the entire time she did the narcissist fake cry. With very little to no tears. But with her hand up to her face with tissue rubbing her eyes. And making crying noises. And likely the more she rubbed her eyes, the redder they got to give the appearance she was crying. But no one was buying it. And her ex-husband stood before the parole board and had real tears in his eyes. And pleaded with them to keep Susan Smith locked up. Look. Demons like this use our genuine feelings of wanting to help against us. And we've likely all been there. Both male and female. Where this person in our life cried and said their roommate just kicked them out. And they have no place to go. Knowing you are kind-hearted and you will take them in. Or they will do you wrong in more than one way. They might cheat on you. Spend up all of your money. They might physically hit you. And then comes the fake tears. I'm going to tell you what. Susan Smith likely went back to her cell with steam coming out of her ears with anger for her ex-husband David. Along with her children that are no longer here. But in her mind, they are the reason why she's in prison. It's their fault, not hers. At least that's what she is likely thinking. And all the tears. The fake tears, sorry. All these fake tears are for. Is to get past the obstacles that are in her way to get back out on the outside so she can manipulate others again. She has no children. She has no husband. What does she have? She has her need to lie and to manipulate others. And that drive in such people like Susan Smith is so strong. They will do and or say anything they can to drink from the fountain of manipulation one more time. Yes. She gets tons of mail from men that really should check their priorities as to why they would even want to talk to someone like her to begin with. But being inside a prison and writing letters and having the occasional phone call or visit isn't the same as getting out there and doing what she is so good at with live people. And that's manipulating. How did Susan end up like she is? I don't know. But she likely used this fake crying act since she was a child. Now, and when she was convicted, were likely the first times it didn't work. This is why taking a step back and discerning is so important. I'm pretty sure David noticed some odd behavior in Susan either before or after they were married. But he kept trying to make it work. And it's not his fault. Because this kind of education wasn't available back then. Either you were a monster like Jason from Friday the 13th. Or you weren't. Meaning information that an evil monster can come in a package of an innocent-looking housewife wasn't available. And David just probably wanted to help her and wanted to keep his family together and intact. But we now know. If you feel like something is off, 9 times out of 10 you are right. Don't get mad at yourself if you got roped into talking to or even dating someone like this for a short while. Maybe you believed everything they said. But then the light bulb went off. Just be happy the light bulb went off and you were able to get away. Look. We all have problems. And it's nice when someone understands them. But if you look at your life, even if you told someone about something you went through, you likely weren't looking for anything. You weren't looking for money or a place to stay. Most of you here in the narcissistic abuse community have struggled all by yourself with minimal help from others. And when someone does help you, you feel ashamed and bad. And you want to do whatever you can to repay them. Narcissists use fake stories and half-truths to trigger that thing inside of you that makes you want to protect and that makes you want to help. But sometimes you have to be just like the parole board and take a step back and look at the entire situation and say, denied. I do not believe Susan Smith is sad about what she did. But I think she is mad at David and everyone else including her children that aren't around anymore. Because I believe in her mind. She blames them for her situation. But that is the mind of the narcissist. And that is the mind of a psychopath. Well, that's all I have for today. More videos to come. I thank you for supporting this channel, as my channel and others like me have been shadow banned for years. This channel was getting a lot of daily views and tons of new subscribers every single day. Well, this platform I think hit a little button on their side to stop the information from reaching others. Because this content makes you think. And I don't think they like that I speak about my faith in God and the evil of the puppet masters in our world. So again, thank you for your support. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.